Hello friends, today we're going to be working on something called op art. Op is short for optical, and it's a type of visual art that works on creating optical illusions through line, or it'll seem to be vibrating, different things like that. I have crayons. Hopefully you have crayons at home. If you don't, just reach out to me. We'll talk about it. We'll find an alternative. I have a Sharpie, rulers, and a T-square. It's okay if you don't have rulers or a T-square. I'll show you a trick. Pencil, eraser, and I think I'm going to use markers just because it'll be easier to demonstrate. You can use markers if you want, or crayons. My paper I'm going to hold portrait style. So this is landscape style, where the paper's held horizontally. Landscape style. This is called portrait. The paper is held vertically. First thing I'm going to do is push up my sleeve, take my pencil, and trace my hand. Now maybe this reminds you of something you did a long time ago when you were little. But what we're going to do is a little bit interesting than what you did when you were little. So just run the pencil along your finger. I noticed I had a little bump out there I don't like, so luckily it's a pencil and I can go back and fix it, erase it, because I will be outlining, going over my lines in a Sharpie. So I'm going to take that line and trace it all the way to the end of the paper. And see, there's that little bump out, so I'm just going to smooth it out a little bit and erase it. The next thing that I want to do is create horizontal lines. If I have my T-square, I can create 90 degrees angle. There's a ledge here, and I can hook it on the side of my page and create parallel lines that are always going to have a 90-degree angle. If you don't have a T-square, that's fine. You can use a book. Make sure the book is long enough. And if I take the edge of the book and line it up with the edge of the paper, then I will get what a T-square gives me, which is a 90-degree angle. I'm going to take my pencil. I'm going to do about a space that's about the width of the metal on the pencil, and I'm going to use that like a ruler. So different things you can do if you don't have a ruler to draw lines. I'm going to look for my hand. Okay, my hand's not there yet. Just the tip is going to be in the tip of this. So I'm just going to get the tip of this. Again, I can measure quick and then make sure my side of my book is lined up. I'm going straight across. It hits the tip of my finger. And I'm going to keep going down, down, down with about the same. You can just eyeball it. That means just doing it by eye, the width, or you can keep checking with your pencil. And I'm going to make the line go to the hand. Make sure you look over the edge of your book. It stops at the outline of your hand and then goes all the way to the edge. You can see right here I went over a little bit, so I'm just going to erase that. So I'm going to keep going down, down, down. Drawing my horizontal lines. So what is a horizontal line as opposed to a vertical line? A horizontal line, I like to think of the horizon. That's where the land meets the sky, is called the horizon, and from that word we get horizontal lines, as opposed to vertical lines, which go straight up and down. So I'm going to start and end at my tracing of my hand, and then go down more. There's many different ways that you can do this. This is the exercise that I chose because we all have a hand at home, and hopefully you have paper. I know, for example, for measuring, like I said, I use the metal on the pencil. I know, for example, this section of my finger is 1 inch. So if I ever need to measure anything. My mother knows that her hand span is 7 inches when she wants to measure something. I notice at the edge of my book, it's bumping out a little bit, so I'm going to move the book over. It's okay if you have problems. This is the first time we're doing this, so don't be hard on yourself. Remember my definition of perfect, and if you're doing your best, you're perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to line up this side of the book because I don't like that little bump that happens on that side. And I'm going to go all the way. This looks like it's slightly, you know what? I'm going to turn it this way because it looks like it was going up. So see, these are some things that might happen, but that's okay. Yeah, it was going up. My eye told me so. So I'm going to fix that. And I'm going to erase that line, no problem. If they're not perfect distance apart, that's okay. Don't stress out. If you have a Sharpie, you can outline it. The reason I like to use a Sharpie is because if I'm using Crayola markers and they're water-based, if I try to outline in a black Crayola marker, the colors will bleed together. They'll get absorbed into each other. So you notice that most when you try and put yellow next to a color. All of a sudden where the colors touch, the yellow looks kind of blecky. That's my word for it. It kind of gets yucky colored. So I don't want your colors to absorb the other color. And I'm going to wait till the very end to outline. Then I'm going to erase any pencil lines so I don't get confused when I'm coloring. The next thing I want to do is create the illusion of volume. And the way I'm going to do that is by taking my straight line where it meets and then bumping it up like that. So I'm going to do a curved line, a curved line, a curved line. And I'm going to connect the line together, but I'm going to deviate like this by doing a little rounded form. Lines that are rounded are called organic, and lines like squares that are straight are geometric. So combining the organic with the geometric. I'm not going to do all of them. When we come down a little further, that's where it gets a little tricky. So I'm going to make sure to keep bumping up and going all the way back down. So this line connects with this one. So make sure we know where it's going before we start drawing it. Okay. All right, that's good. This line connects with that one, right? There's that, and there's that. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to do the whole thing. And then what I'm going to do is pick my palette. Do I want a cool palette or a warm palette? Warm colors, we know, make us think of the sun or fire or hot day. A pink can be considered hot too, a hot pink, orange, red, or yellow. Or I could pick a cool palette and I could go towards blues and greens. Think of ice and the water. And then what I'm going to do is make sure when I'm coloring in, I'm not scribbling, and I'm going to take my color and I'm going to use, if I'm using a marker, the tip is for fine line and the side of the marker is for broader line. So I'm probably going to use the colors blue and green. Sounds good to me. And so if I'm doing blue, it's very dark. So I think I have to trace first my line, which is okay because it's a Sharpie. So I'm going to trace my line so I don't lose it. I'm just slowly going to go over my line till I have my whole hand traced. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. And then I'm going to make sure I go over my bump ups like that. And then to trace my lines, I'm going to make sure I put a straight edge down. You can use a ruler, you can use a book. But if I try and trace that straight line by myself, it'll probably get kind of crooked, right? And you can go all the way through if you want and trace the whole line, right? The little sections are a little easier to keep straight, right? So already what you can see is the difference between where the straight line is and the bump out. It creates an illusion that our two-dimensional plane, which is our paper, is suddenly having some volume. So this goes all the way to the edge of that finger. It's easier for me to start at the finger and work my way out to the edge and not make a mistake. Okay, so I'm not going to trace it all for you, just enough so you can get an idea. I strongly suggest that you use a ruler or a straight edge of a book or whatever when you trace your lines. Then, when I continue to draw this, I'm going to put my cap on and hear a click. I'm going to go back to my marker. I think if I was doing this again, I would pick a lighter blue, okay? To tell you the truth. And this is going to extend all the way, right? I'm not going to color this one because I haven't outlined it yet, and I don't want to make a mistake. And then I'm going to progress to green. And I'm coloring on the side of my marker. And you could sort of see that a lot better. Coloring on the side of my marker all the way. And you're going to do this through your whole thing. I think now I'm going to switch to yellow. Okay, these markers are weird. They're black, so I have to read the name, make sure I don't make a boo-boo. And now I don't have to worry about my yellow getting yucky. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to blue. So I'm doing stripes, blue, green, and yellow. Okay, learn from my mistake. Don't do such a dark blue. It's really hard to see. I don't love it. Okay, I'll finish this whole thing and put an example, but hopefully what you can see happening is how when we change the curve of the line, how visually it changes how you see the form, and it creates a roundedness. So I'm going to continue with that pattern all the way down. I hope you have lots of fun doing this project. Remember to create a pattern with your color and stick with it, and take a photograph of it and submit it to me. And I hope you have a great day. Love you guys. Bye.